Roll call. Here. All right, we'll start out with any updates from administrator, staff, consultant. Matt, you're up for anything. You're up. Yep. Make sure you click your button on it if you would, please.
Good evening. So we took bids for, just pulling them up here so I can look at it myself. It should be in your packet, I assume. We took bids for the Phase 6 project, the 5th Avenue and 1st Street project. They came in a little under the engineer's estimate, kind of about where we figured they'd be, so that was good. Sabi Bituminous was a little bidder in the amount of $2,131,280.30. So on the agenda tonight for the councils is to review those and so inclined to accept the bids and award it to Sabi Bituminous. I can answer any questions now if you have any, but.
How many bids were there?
5. Was it? Okay. Yep. And they were all pretty tight. I mean, second one was about 2.31 million, then 2.32 million, 2.43 million, 2.7. So, I mean, they're all right there. So.
And we do have, I believe, what is it, Jeff, roughly about 2.5, 2.6 for this, so we're well under that. I mean, there'll obviously be some costs with, engineering, and you can always plan on change orders, but that kind of eliminates that, any discussion that there might be an assessment. So that's
all I got. This is just for 1st Street from 1st Avenue to 5th Avenue, and 5th Avenue from Main Street to 4th Street. No, there is. We're actually, Jeff and I were just talking about that. We are opening bids tomorrow for fixing that. There's a sag in the sewer line. Is that what you're talking about? That's a public utilities project, but that one's being opened tomorrow, and we're going to bring that to public utilities on Thursday for hopefully an award there as well. Those projects will be going on concurrently, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's excellent. Is there any questions for Mr. Reed?
Don't know for sure yet, but I suspect as soon as they can. Oh, and I should also mention too that the council action tonight, because of the funding, if you may remember, this had to get funneled back through the county. The county's actually the contract holder on this, not the city. So they have to take it to their board meeting the end of February, or their next meeting coming up. Then it goes back again. I'm not really sure why they have to do it twice. Whatever. Their first meeting in March is when they will, when they will actually award it. What the council just needs to do is basically accept it, award it contingent upon the county doing all of that. But at the end of the day, the city's not going to sign a contract with the Sabi, so it'll be the county this time. So they just want the city's blessing to award the project because it is a city project. They had to be your sponsor just because of the funding that's involved on this one. So to answer your question, Patty, hopefully May, June. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not all that excited about construction starting up. But yeah, hopefully May. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for clarifying that county part too. I did get asked some questions about that because it was on the county website. So. Jeff, do you have anything for council?
We've got kind of a lengthy list under old and new business, but most of it's pretty straightforward. I'll just run through it real quick. Under old business, appoint an ex officio member to the Planning Commission. The council held off on that at the organizational meeting, knowing that there was a 5th member of the council to be appointed. This member is the Planning Commission ordinance 425 does call for an ex officio member. People have different interpretations of what ex officio means, and it means different things in certain. It's treated differently in certain areas. Ex officio means by virtue of office, so it means an officer of this board will be appointed to the planning commission. It can be voting or non-voting. A lot of people think it just means non-voting. Ex officio doesn't mean non-voting. This is a non-voting ex officio member. So the planning commission is a 5-member board. They vote. The 6th member, who's the ex officio council member, is not a voting member of that body. They attend the meeting, they participate, but don't take part in the votes. Yes.
If you're going to speak to, make sure you hit your button. Turn screen.
The city engineer went over 9A, the project. The approval of the contract for medical billing. Medical billing has been kind of a headache at different points on and off over the years. The officer of the department did some comparison and talked to some others and found a new firm that they would like to use for medical billing. Largely for the assistance and some of the other stuff that goes along with the medical billing. There's a lot of different hoops to jump through with the different places that we bill, including Medicare, which can be a headache. So this is at the request of the department officers. The updated snow plowing and ice control policy. We've talked quite a bit about snow plowing over the years. This is a suggestion or a request that snow plowing and ice control policy just clarify that the city will be removing snow from Main Street. It kind of sounds good in theory to have people take care of the stuff in front of their property, but between the headaches with trying to coordinate the timing on city removal and private removal, and the amount of that property that's actually city owned property and city maintained property to begin with, it seems like it would be more efficient and a better use of the time to have the city responsible for those sidewalks. The resignation from the Public Utilities Commission. Jack Larson is stepping down after several years. Been an excellent Public Utilities Commissioner, but asking the council to accept that resignation and declare a vacancy tonight. We do have a former PUC Commissioner, Mosey Sherrick, who has expressed interest in that and submitted a letter of interest. So that'll come back to the council at the next meeting. Jack Ribbich has submitted a letter of resignation from the Fire and Ambulance Department. He's been on for a few years and has other commitments that he will be able to meet the time commitment from the Fire and Ambulance Department, resigning in good standing. No issues there. Scheduling the 2025 Local Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting. This is, and we'll go over this in depth at that meeting. This is the meeting where people can come and ask questions or appeal the valuation of their property, which will be used to compute their 2026 payable property taxes. Can be kind of confusing, and people don't often realize that we're a year behind on that. So when people come and they have issues, generally they might talk about spending or budgetary issues. Valid points and valid things to discuss, but that is not what that meeting is for. We'll have people from St. Louis County that are here to explain how they came up with the numbers and what the valuation of the property is. We are required to be in session for the full hour. If it's very quick, or if nobody comes, we'll open from 5 to 6 because that's what the notice says. I do not know. I haven't had a whole lot of. Sometimes I'll get communications well in advance of that type of thing, or hear stuff throughout the year. Have not heard a lot from property owners about property values this year. So I guess we'll see what we get before that meeting. Rescinding the liquor license approval for European Cuisine. That was a council approval of the liquor license for that property for somebody that did not wind up actually purchasing that property. It did not go further than the council. The process goes from council approval to state to alcohol and gambling enforcement department at the state before it comes back. It never made it past the council approval, so that's kind of where it's at. We're kind of language. So this would just be an official rescission of that liquor license, just to tie up loose ends. The review of the proposed Bavarian theme ordinance, that is something that the Strategic Planning Group 2 has been working on for quite a while to flesh that out, update it, and make it a little more user-friendly. So the updated version is in your packet tonight, just for some discussion, not on for a first reading of that ordinance. That would come at a later meeting. Discussion on the senior recycling pickup. That's a task that we've been doing for years. I do know, got the numbers in there. I've been here for about 18 years now, and I remember going over the numbers that there was about 50 to 55 people that use that service. Now we're down to single digits, maybe 8 or 9, maybe up to 10 people using that service. Might be a better way to provide that. The legislative priorities. That's just something to talk about as we talked about the previous meeting. There's a lot going on at the legislature that could really help us or could be detrimental to cities. The League of Minnesota Cities does a lot of work in identifying priorities and working towards those priorities. So it's a widespread organization, covers the entire state of Minnesota. So not all of those things are going to be relevant to us, and not all the stuff that we're working with are necessarily going to make it to the top of their pile for priorities. So I think it's important that the council has an idea what the legislative priorities are, and as we're working with our legislators and with the lobbyists that we have working for us. There's been a fair amount of turnover in the legislature, including our local representative. It's a new person we haven't, at least I haven't worked with before, so we're going to have some requests for that person to go after for us. The discussion regarding year-round calendar parking regulations. This is kind of a follow-up step. We had talked. The council updated the calendar parking to include the areas that we're doing as part of Phase 6, as part of the state aid requirements that come along with funding for that. Calendar parking is it's not a real fun thing to enforce or to go after. It's almost by definition, it's inconvenient but necessary. The city has had calendar parking regulations for many, many years. The last major update was when we extended it to include the month of April after a kind of a nasty late winter, early spring snowstorm about 10 years ago, and that's kind of where it's been sitting. There are definitely pros and cons of extending it to year round, but I just want to kind of follow up since those year-round calendar parking regulations were discussed at the previous meeting. Don't want to bring this up and drag it out for too long, but want to get some guidance on what the council wants to see for those parking regulations.
Noticed that on the list tonight was the senior recycling.
Mhm.
So I looked under the public works report for the month. It doesn't even list it. So tough to tell how many hours are being used or who's doing it or this and that. It goes back to that wonderful program that we're using that I hope it's abolished. It's tough to make a decision when you don't even know how many hours are. And we have the public works report every month. So did we not do it in January? It's tough to make a call when we don't know. And all bills, are they in the budget? That's all I ask.
Yes.
No, nothing further.
Thank you. Councilor Newman.
I got mine under the mayor and council report, so you can only ask questions, right?
Any
So,
sort of-
one question, just to clarify, that citywide calendar part, that's the citywide, it's not just for street, right?
Yeah, the discussion
Okay, I
would be
just wanted-
if we want to have calendar
For the
parking
whole
year round.
I just wanted to clarify. And then, we can pop this one off. Cause I asked you, I saw you, but can you share where the, are the locks being taken care of? Remember in the
Mhm.
last council we talked about look at fixing them up, or do we need to have the doors and new locks, when you do it all the time? Where are we at with that?
I have to call another vendor. I've had a few no-shows from a vendor on showing up to look at those.
So we can get that. Okay. Then another question, have you started looking at grants yet, and what's available?
Yes.
Is a grant writer available? Pay for a grant writer to learn how to do it. To learn how to do it.
I know about grant training, but there's the AgriFLR has a grant to pay for a grant writer services as long as it's not a AgriFLR grant that's being applied for. But I'm not aware that pay for grant writers.
So, well, at least the next, so would that be something available to the city to have a grant done by that?
Yes.
So could you look into that for the next council meeting and provide the material?
Yes, I can bring that back to the council. Now that program does require you get when you apply for a grant writer services for a specific project. I can bring back some possibilities and suggestions on that.
Okay, and could you bring other availability of grants to the city?
Yes.
And we're thinking about 2026 or 26, also that following year. Is that possible?
Yes.
The other two that I have, I want to wait. That's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilor Waller?
Yeah. I just said here that the fire department feels that it looks like a better option for them. So what is better than the contract they have
The assistance in tracking down information needed to complete the billing. As they go back and forth between the ambulance, submitting to the hospital, and submitting to insurance, stuff like that. That can be kind of a runaround to track everything down, and that's kind of been a holdup with our current service. And then also the validation, the revalidation with the certification in order to bill Medicare, which the current provider has not been assisting with, and has stated that that's not a service that they provide.
now. Because when I took the ambulance and so okay, and then on the snow and ice policy. Okay, so we have Audie Day parking right now. And so the city crew comes and they plow the streets one day. And then a lot of times they're not going back the next day and plowing where those vehicles had been parked previously.
Mhm.
So somebody had pointed that out to me, that they really wish that the city would get out the second day to clean the spot.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is the time to do that or not, but it's part of the snow and ice. And that's all I have.
Absolutely.
I thought it was, when that last snowstorm, in front of the businesses, it was really nice. But then, because I went to Virginia, I would take my same route out. The corners, so the snow was bombing so high, I had to edge out. And the last time, Tim, my passenger, were coming through, we're going to Aurora, and then I had turned because I wanted to look at something on, I think it was 8th Avenue. If I hadn't looked to, and because I'm taller and raised my head up, he didn't see a car coming. It's because of the snow. It wasn't because of anything else. It's because of the snow. And that's dangerous. And those corners, in my opinion, need to be taken care of. And so I don't know if this is for here. I'm sorry if it's for the council, but that needs to be taken care of. I mean, the businesses look great, but these mounds on the corners, that's dangerous. And if you're in a smaller car than what we are, you aren't going to see anything. And I almost, because I edged myself out and I said, no, there's a car coming. I stopped us from getting hit, but you didn't see it. It's because of the amount of snow. So that's a concern I have as citizens and as a council.
Yeah, and the crew has been working on removing those piles on the corner we call the beacon, the site triangle. On Main Street alone, between First Avenue and Eighth Avenue, there's 30 site triangles. Some of the intersections have 4 corners, some 2 because the road doesn't go through. And that needs to be a priority to get those removed. That is where the danger comes in from not being able to see. So we'll need to work on that. We had some manpower shortages in the last couple of snowfalls, sick leave and other leaves. But the site triangles specifically are something we have to look at to cut down on the time and increase the efficiency of removing those. The actual removal on the streets, alleys, sidewalks, it seems like it's been pretty good, but it's that the removal afterward is the really tedious, time consuming part.
So it's a question. So at the next council meeting, can you bring back what the public works has decided how to take care of that?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
whether they're doing it themselves or they need to bring in another truck hauler, I don't care, just so we know what's going on and then come up with a plan.
Mhm.
And hopefully we'll implement it this month, but to be aware that the council. That's all.
Do we have the equipment to put those piles ourselves with the loader and a truck? Do we have that equipment?
We have a loader and a truck, but it's kind of discouraging to watch the loader go into the pile, fill up the truck, and then the truck leave and see how much the pile didn't shrink. So that's one of the things that's going to have to be considered is additional hauling. How we get to there, there's different options on that, but we don't have a lot of dump box capacity as we're moving stone. You got to wait for it's a couple-minute round trip to dump it and bring it back.
Okay, I don't have, all my questions have been answered, so if there's no further questions on the agenda, I will adjourn, by general consent, adjourn this meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion and support to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Larry. Are you able to hear us okay? That's weird. Jeff and I sat here and tried this thing out for quite a significant amount of time, walking around the room and everything else, and never had a problem. I'm just wondering if it's not the speakers up top still giving some sort of carryover. Shouldn't be though. I think we're turned all the way down on those. Yeah.
And as politely as
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Item 4, agenda approval, including any consent agenda items you wish to be pulled. Jeff, we
And I
never,
just noticed that the 6 isn't on this one.
so we will move that to, we'll move it to the end of the normal for new business. So this will become item 9L. Are there any other items anybody wishes to see pulled?
So move, we approve the agenda.
Moved by Councilor Berg, seconded by Councilor Nemi to approve the agenda. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. We have a motion by Councilor Nemi, second by Councilor Waller to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to presentations, we have none. And we will move on to mayor and council reports. Councilor Berg. Councilor Nemi?
I have several things. It's always come up and talked about it with Jeff and Mayor, the building that the CDC owns down at the railroad track. And I talked to Larry today about it, and I've seen the, I don't know how they do it, but the marking of where the land is. And I saw one where the red line goes right along the building. I saw another one where it clips the building, you know, about whatever, quarter of it. So I talked to Larry about it, and he said that it really should be surveyed. So, because you're getting two different opinions. And I had that happen, just so you know, on our property. She actually told me, well, that's just general, you know. You okay. So my point is that can we get it surveyed, or can St. Louis County survey it? It seems to be a question of who's doing it.
We can get it surveyed for a cost. I don't know. St. Louis County won't survey it at our request. They won't send a surveyor out there. We could have a surveyor go out there and take a look at it. The issue is more with the records than anything else. St. Louis County has been going through the ownership records of a lot of areas, including down near the depot location. That's one of them. And we've seen changes over the years that I think are in the right direction. I think they're starting to get more accurate records. But the last I checked, it was still the details. Like if you look at the land explorer of what's on that particular parcel, it lists like 9 buildings. I can't find 8 of them. But we can do a survey. I don't know that actually surveying and pounding pins in gets us any closer to solving that issue.
Well, wouldn't it if we know that St. Louis owns this part and the peg, maybe the pegs are already there. I don't know. And the surveyor will find that out. If that building is sitting on their land, then the thing that I don't like is this has been going on for a long time. It's like, it shouldn't take that long. You know, I don't want it to end up like the cemetery. You know, that's my favorite. Over 100+ years at the state. My thing is get it taken care of, and I don't know what the rest of the council thinks, but I would like to see it get taken care of. We've had an offer to buy it. I don't know if the person was joking up, but an offer to rent it, and it's to get it cleaned up so we can get rid of it. And I know the PUC, for the former member there, said that he's been asking for it. So I'm asking the council to support and get this building taken care of down there. And just so you know, it's being used, but there's no rent paid. The utilities are paid, but there's no rent. And that to me is just absurd. I mean, I just find the whole thing ridiculous. So it's kind of gotten on my bucket list to take care of. Clean it up.
And I can bring back, that's a kind of a complicated one that's really complicated to explain without the paperwork and the maps, but I can put a report together and send that to the council to kind of explain just what the issue is there.
Well, I'd like to know what the other council members think, if we need to get this cleared up or not. But I personally think we need to get it cleaned up. It's one of those white horse things, white elephant things sitting out there. And let's get it taken care of. Everybody talks about it, but nobody, it just falls to the wayside. Okay, so that's that one. The other is, and I have been bringing this up off and on the council and otherwise, is I always call them designated funds, but it's called capital reserve money, and that's setting money aside for projects. And I talked to Jeff about it. He can correct me if I'm not saying something right, but that's money that you set aside. So let's use the campground. Okay, and I'm just for talk's sake. Okay, so say we decide to set 10% above on the gross. That money goes in for the campground, and it won't hurt the taxpayers, and it can be sitting there, and it can go from year to year without penalties, right?
Yes.
Okay. That way, we're planning for the future, and we're not sitting here and doing what the state and everybody else does and say, oh, we'll pay for it when we get the project and take a loan out for it. I'm saying set the money aside so that we can have it for a grant for a project, or we can eventually, make a good down payment on it and have a low loan on it with interest rate. That's what I'm thinking. So they call it capital reserve money, and I'd like the budget committee to really look at this, because I think personally it's a good idea. We talked about a fire truck, we talked about a dock at the campground, we talked about fixing City Hall, we talked about fixing the pavilion, so forth and so on. If you have a capital reserve money, that money set aside for that project. The council, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but the council has the right to pull that money out if they need to in an emergency or for something else. So I would like the council's input on that. I think we need to do something to plan for 2026 in particular, because 2025 is kind of set. So it's something I was thinking about. I don't know if you want to talk about it now but I'm going to bring it up at the next council meeting, because if we're not going to talk about it, I'm not going to put it aside. Same with the building. Okay. The other is, we have all these projects we want to do, but nobody really says anything about setting a priority. And I'll be honest, when Jim was here, it's like, maybe the city hall needs to be a priority and get it fixed, because it's a reflection on the city and how it runs and how it does. And if you have a city hall that is not taken care of, I think he's absolutely right. It's like, what do people think when they walk in? The other thing with city hall is I don't understand why we got the windows washed because of one person pushing it to get it done. We got it done, but like the floors, why aren't they mopped up? Why is it I always walk into City Hall and they're a mess? There's no reason they can't be mopped up. It can't take that long, but they're always a mess. And I'm not saying you go down there every hour. I'm not asking that, but I am saying, in the evening, clean them up, or in the morning before the doors are unlocked, clean them up. So that at least it starts the day presentable. So I'm thinking maybe City Hall needs a priority, or the City Council needs to decide what's a priority and then go after it. but not come up with 5 different projects and then sit and do nothing but complain about it. So those are, and we talked about the other 2 things at the previous meeting. So those are my thoughts on those.
Councilor Waller?
First of all, I want to thank the council for their vote of confidence and seeing me back on the council. I really do appreciate it. I've enjoyed the past 4 years that I've been here. I only missed one. So, and I feel that I do my homework and I'm prepared. And I have seen the city move forward. I'm happy to see that public works is out plowing earlier. I used to shovel before I went to work, and I would come home and I would be plowing back in. And now they're getting out and they're plowing earlier, so I can go out and shovel and I don't have to go back out again. There's still no link on the city website for the city council meeting. A couple months ago, I had mentioned that you said you would link it.
I'll make a note of that.
And I'll make a note of that. We are looking at the website updating, being part of falling under the amenities coordinator. So I'll have that on the list of priorities to include.
Okay, and then when I was reading the minutes of the January meeting, there was something that was tabled where it was put off until this month, but it's not on the agenda. We postponed the approval of fire equipment testing service agreement with fire test, and it's not on the agenda. So that's something I noticed when I was going to. And then the budget committee had talked about, you also named Hometown Focus as our official newspaper, correct?
Mhm.
And the budget committee said that we should be running our ads in the Hometown Focus.
Mhm.
Well, the one about the pet licenses was ran again in the East Range Times, and it was not in the Hometown Focus. So if that's our official newspaper, I think we should be using that instead of using the East Range Times. Plus, Hometown Focus was a lot cheaper than. I would like to support a local business, but when it costs twice as much, and it's not our official newspaper. Then I was wondering about the report that SCH is working on for the city building.
Yeah, and they've made a couple of site visits here. Matt, do you have any update on?
We are working on it. I would expect to have something for the next council meeting.
That would be. Thank you. And then I agree with Kathy about the building, down in the depot location there, that it's been years that somebody has been using that building rent free. And if the city doesn't want it, I think we need to get it straightened out and put it on the market.
Okay, thank you. I did ask Jeff to follow up with MnDOT on what the odds are of finishing up our sidewalks that we talked about this fall. And so hopefully we can get somewhere with that. Of course, I'd like a full redo of all that, but that's not going to happen. We are also looking at updating the website. Jeff and I have started that discussion, and Tracy, the amenities coordinator, had also included that into her proposal for the 25 calendar year. So we're going to get her situated with that here shortly. It's just been kind of a whirlwind of things going on. But that is on the priority list as well. The recycling is still in progress with St. Louis County. I know I've been asked a few times about cardboard simply because we've never had cardboard. Aurora did. We're getting a lot of usage over here from Aurora. But again, that's the county service, so we're still kind of waiting for that. With all these different things too, Jeff and I versus sending emails back and forth, I think we've kind of started to streamline our communication process using some shared documents and to-do lists, and I think it's been more effective for both of us. And then The couple other things is I want to start thinking about citywide cleanup and how we can do that more efficiently than having our public works employees going around picking up a small bag of garbage at every stop that could just well be put in a city bag. So we've got some looking to do at that, as well as start thinking about summer help and advertising ahead of time this year and kind of getting ahead of that ballpark instead of being behind the curve. So, and then the last thing is, and I know Councillor Waller discussed it during her presentation at the 5 o'clock meeting, but the West Annex Committee, we are going to put that back in motion. We have a committee, and we will be putting that back in motion to start searching for plans and funding. Well, we have a plan, we just haven't done it. So I didn't want to, I couldn't prioritize that until we get a few other things squared away. So I think we're there. That is all I have for that. Moving on to old business. Item 8A, appoint ex officio member to the Planning Commission. And as everybody knows, at the reorganizational meeting, we paused on that to wait for the fifth council seat to be appointed, into which case I would like to see Councillor Waller serve in that role. There's some other questions asked as well. So if there's a motion to approve that.
What? That Patty Waller, be, on the planning commission. You'll, we'll do a change to liaison.
No, that's okay.
Okay,